Hello, how you doing? Follow here. And this is going to be my first music collection update on the new channel. So I got a little bit of vinyl, I got a cassette, and I got a like semi-grail. So I'll tell you what I mean in a minute on the semi-grail. But before we get started, uh, shout out to Julian Lopez for letting me know about a sale at Dark Descent Records. I had no clue they were having a sale, so he let me know, and I went over and grabbed at really bottom dollar prices, man. Prices that Farley can afford. So you know it's not much. And I got me a cassette, and I got me a vinyl record from one of my favorite newer death metal bands, Horrendous. Julian just showed his, and so I'm just going to show. They've got 3 albums. I already had one, and the 2 I picked up were their first and second albums. Their first album I actually picked up on cassette. This is Horrendous, The Chills. This is great stuff, man. I can't say enough cool things about Horrendous and how awesome they are. But don't eat the cassette. Pup's in my lap. Okay, let me put it there. All right. So we got the card, and now where did I put the case? Oh well. And we got the cassette. So I have streamed this album many a time. The first time I've owned it. They did not have a vinyl version of this album. And so I did see a vinyl version when I saw them live. Was it last year? Yeah. So I saw them live last year, and they had all 3 of their albums out. I met the lead singer, and he's a real cool dude. And I ended up getting their 2016 album, Anaretta, on cassette. So I actually have 2 cassettes. And then my first album of theirs on vinyl, Ecdysis. This was 2014, so this is their second album. Now, the best way I can describe them is a mixture of old school death metal and new school technical death metal. They have their own sound, don't get me wrong. So it's kind of hard to pin down who they remind me of, but at times, maybe like a little atheist. But really dig this band. These boys can play. So awesome stuff, man. And I don't know if the sale's still going on, but Dark Descent Records. If you like death metal, you need to know Dark Descent Records. So, all right. Next, we're gonna move on to a little 80s action. I actually got Attila Rolling Thunder from 1986. This was sealed. The only problem, of course, is the corners cut. To me, album never been played, sealed, no warps, and I got it for under $10. And this album kicks so much anus. They're speed metal to me. They're from New York. They don't sound like Overkill though. They have their own sound. At times it's got some new wave of British heavy metal influences, and at other times just this really street thrash, dirty, just good old dirty, not thrash, but good old dirty speed metal from the 80s. Where, look, see what I'm talking about? Look at these guys. Like, you go see them in concert, and these dudes been riding in a bus. You know what I'm saying? Not a real bus, a little mini bus with a U-Haul hauling their equipment because they weren't that big, and they haven't showered in like 6 days. And so it just smells like ass and onions. And when they get out and they play that stink gets into their sound, and it's awesome. It's awesome. Anyway, now, oh yeah, let me show you the. I don't think I showed the vinyl on. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let me go back real quick to Horrendous. I got the same color Julian got. I got that blue. It's a little bit darker than it's showing on here with the lighting, but yeah, sorry, through the label. And then Attila was on Shattered Records. Great stuff, man. If you like 80s speed, new wave, British heavy metal, check these boys Attila out. Not to be confused with a new band out of Atlanta, unfortunately, also called Attila, that are, I don't know what you call them, metalcore or something. I call them metal horrible. So they're not good. So not to be confused with a newer band called Attila. I guess they did not trademark the band name. All right, on to the final record, the Semi-Grail. Now, 1990. I read about a band, and I can't remember exactly, but they talked about this band having some thrash elements and some progressive metal elements and all these different things. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to check this band out. So I picked up their 1990 album, Reason. It was their second album. They had all kinds of good press for their first album, which was Suffering Hour. But I didn't get that one. I got Reason. And let me tell you, it was such a unique sound, and it was a metal that I had never heard before. It's like a progressive voivod. I don't know how to explain it, but with the lyrics that go from this soft whisper to this scream and this high-pitched wail. And so the band I'm talking about is a band called Anacrusis. Anacrusis came out in the mid-'80s out of St. Louis. Like I say, they released Suffering Hour. It was a demo. It did well. Got a lot of noise for them, and that's kind of what got them a little bit of notice. And one of the metal mags back in the day, I can't remember which one, Metal Edge or one of those. And so when I heard that they had a new album coming out, I picked it up. Well, that album now goes for well over $100. The CD, I can't remember the last time I looked the CD up, but let me just say I'm not paying that much for it. Their whole catalog is ridiculous prices. They had Suffering Hour, if you count it, Reason. I guess Suffering Hour, Annihilation Complete was the demo, sorry. Suffering Hour was the first album. It was released only in Europe, but they actually toured the United States. They're from the U.S., toured the U.S., but the album was released on a label out of the UK. So, anyway, I digress again. So this is their second album. They had more Manic Impressions and one more. The only other person I've heard talk about this band is Ron Haggerty. So, let me just show what I got. This is called Anacrusis Hindsight. Now, there's two of these. And it's Anacrusis back in 2010, I think. I believe 2010, they went back in the studio and recorded their first two albums, Suffering Hour and Reason. The first two albums were low budget, horribly mixed. Now, I love the album Reason, but it was very, very muddy. There was not a lot of sharp highs or lows. Everything was just kind of mid-range, muddied, And they've always talked about that album being like their Black Sheep album, Reason, and because of the mix. So anyway, they went back and recorded the first two back in 2010, the original lineup, and I finally picked up their Hindsight. It's their 2010 re-recording of Reason, and this is on Hammerheart. And again, 2010, this thing is beautifully done. I did not pay anywhere near what Reason, the original album, would go for, and there's no repressings I know of. So it comes with a booklet. This is really, really cool. It's got the lyrics. It's got I don't know this guy. I haven't read this yet. Niles Schroeder. Anybody know that guy? Anyway, he wrote a little piece about the band. So you got this really cool booklet that comes with it. It's gatefold 2LP. And comes on, both are on a black 180 gram. And this includes their re-recording of the whole album, plus it's got some demos from 2009, Stop Me, which is my favorite song by them. They had a reunion in 2010, obviously, because they did the album. And they recorded the live show, a couple of songs, Stop Me and Afraid to Feel. So, anyway, Anacrusis, one of the great bands most people have never heard of, but just a great blend of all kinds of different metal influences into this great thing and labeled as progressive. I have read reviews on this, especially from people who normally don't buy a record when a band goes back in the studio and re-records an old album, and they talk about how well this is, how much better it sounds. And the big thing is Ken Nardi, who's the vocalist and guitarist. His voice is still there. He's got a very unique delivery. So check out Anacrusis if you can. If you like progressive metal, I don't think that you'll be disappointed. So that's it. That's what I've got. Thanks for watching. I hope everybody's doing well and has a good weekend. And I will talk to you guys and gals soon. Bye.